What was your shortest D&D campaign, and why did it end? Color me curious. The DM wanted to play Lost Mine of Fendelver. It took about an hour and a half to create all the characters, and then the whole party died 15 minutes in during the first encounter. Man, those goblins were fierce. Rolled up a wild magic sorcerer, level 1 starting point. Due to a little luck, I went first in the first combat. Since we were walking, everyone was pretty close to me, say within 20 feet. I rolled a 7. Fireball. Everyone burned to death. My DM started a new campaign. We built our characters, had unique items for them. Then he said, "You were all on a boat, and it crashed. You find yourself on an island, and you've lost all your gear. Start salvaging." I was a cleric, which meant I lost my holy symbol. I couldn't do anything. We never went back to that campaign after the first day. Our DM made a one-shot AD&D campaign that wasn't supposed to last more than one session. We were supposed to hire some companions and clear out a goblin camp. Instead, we spent the entire session harassing the bar patrons. One of us actually fell into the fireplace. One was banished by the bartender. Another was almost murdered by a dwarf. We never left the tavern.
Many, many years ago, I ran a campaign.
My idea was to have a high-level party fail to stop the big bad. Well, they all got reincarnated by the gods at level 1. The problem? I made everyone roll 10th level characters and then killed them all in the first session so they could start over as new characters. I should have just made it their backstory instead of going through it all. No one remade their characters. Now, do note, in my defense, I was 15 at the time and just didn't know any better. I'm 49 now.
Did you learn your lesson, Sonny? Many years ago now,
déjà vu, we would always bug our one friend who refused to DM to finally run a game. One day he comes in with this lovingly crafted map of a big city and says he's gonna run a campaign. Well, we were pumped. This was 3.5 edition. I can't remember what I made, but another friend made this monkey monk or something. Not 10 minutes into the game, we're on an airship leaving the city. And for whatever reason, the DM mentions that there's a big red button. Well, the monkey monk had to press it. The DM then mournfully takes a pen, scribbles a gigantic circle of scribbles over his map, and that was that. A nuke went off over the city. I still feel bad about that, and I didn't even do anything. Yeah, you just ruined his entire day, and he's never gonna DM again. Good job. Well, a friend wanted to start DMing, but he put all of his effort into homebrewing a world and burned himself out before our second session. It was a shame. We were all excited about our characters, and the premise of the first mystery or mission was actually interesting. After being the forever DM for years, I found a group where someone else wanted to DM. I made a bugbear fighter. Not too deep backstory. The DM asked if he could be a pirate since that was going to be part of the adventure. I said sure, because I really didn't care. The adventure starts with my ship full of goblins, the skies go dark, and a wizard appears. Ooh. I get taken out and wake up tied and gagged by slavers hundreds of miles away on dry land. Note, this was all narrative, no rolls or anything. DM just narrated to me. The rest of the party comes across a couple of guys with a captured bugbear, hoping they will kill the bugbear because, bugbears are bad, or buy the bugbear. Second side note, I'm the only black person at the table, and the idea of being sold isn't my idea of fun. I feel this now. I get released, and as we are walking through the town, 2 cowboy gunslingers appear. They draw, one shoots the other, and they blink back to their own timeline. The DM explains that time is wonky in this world, and that time skips and crossovers happen. He also says that he finds the monster manual boring, so he reskinned everything. No orcs or goblins, he took the stats and just renamed them. He didn't actually make his own monsters. There is an unremarkable fight that involved goblins that were my crew under mind control. It leads us to a room filled with magical darkness. We hear laughter inside, the same laughter from the wizard that captured me before. Do note, we are still first level. This is still session 1. My character just walks away. The DM tries to tell me that this is the guy that captured my crew. I should want to fight him. I shrugged. I didn't even know about them until yesterday. The wizard is in magical darkness, and I can't see in magical darkness. He has the power to teleport out to sea, capture me, and do who knows what else, and just teleport back, and has mind control powers. I'm not that strong, and I can find more goblins. Oh, that's a good idea. It was pretty clear that the DM had fun by messing with the players, and I don't have fun playing confused. So I told him that his game wasn't for me, and I never went back. I had a game where the DM insisted on using those random critical success fumble tables that added effects to nat 1s and 20s. We were on our second encounter of the first session, and we were fighting bandit half-orcs. We had 3 melee types who rushed in and a warlock. The warlock rolled nat 1s twice in a row on Eldritch Blast and was forced to roll attacks against us instead of the enemy, which both hit our rogue, who then went down. He was just inside the opening of a house, so the fighter jumped in to stabilize the rogue and failed. One of the half-orc bandits then decapitated the fighter with a crit. The random critical success he got was literally, "You decapitate your opponent," and then lit the house on fire. What a cluster. I was down to about 6 HP, but went to go at least drag the bodies out of the fire so they wouldn't get instant death save failures, and maybe, just maybe, give them a potion to get them back into the fight. But the DM rolled damage from the fire as I went to pull them out and rolled 6 points. The warlock was then chased down and eventually killed. She was literally in tears after the second time she was forced to hit one of our teammates. She'd chosen Celestial Warlock so she could be support and help out, but she was out of resources due to having needed to use them in the prior battle. Instead of helping, she felt like she killed everyone. We brought up that the critical thing might be a little harsh, but that DM was really into it for some reason. Nobody was interested in rolling up a new character, but I do hope all of you still love D&D to this day and didn't let this tarnish your experience. It was 2004-2005, the days of 3.5 D&D. I met some guys in college who were lamenting of their longtime DM, one of their dads, getting a new job and thus wouldn't be able to run games for them anymore. I'd been a DM of my high school group for about 2 years by then, and these guys were great, so it sounded like it was going to be a blast. I'd been reading over Return to the Temple of Elemental Evil, and although it was a huge adventure, I was excited to try it out with this new group. I was nervous, though, because these other guys kept talking about how great their previous DM was, how there was so much role-playing and so on, but I figured, you know what? I was up to the challenge. I brought my best friend Jay along, and we drove out to the guy's house one Friday night. We hung out for a bit. Everyone got to know each other, and I had the guys tell me about their characters. Well, it turns out they were some of the most min-maxed power-gamed builds I'd ever seen. We're talking half-giant power attacking with a large-sized elven thin blade and so on, which isn't inherently a problem, but after hearing them go on and on about how much they love to roleplay, I was expecting something a bit more, subdued. But hey, whatever. I set the scene. They're adventurers that have arrived in the village of Hamlet to follow in the footsteps of the great heroes of old. From the general store to the old keep up on the hill where, "Is there a dungeon near here? Let's go hunt some orcs." One of the players interrupted the description of the town, seemingly impatient that he wasn't rolling any dice yet. The others, minus the friend I had brought with me, all nodded in agreement. I shrugged, told them that they'd heard a rumor of an old moat house nearby that was said to have housed an evil cult, a number of years.
Yeah, cool. We go there, what do we see?
I was, getting a little bit flustered at this point, but I soldiered on, flipping about a dozen pages forward in the module to the section of the moat house. The party walked up. I rolled some checks, and it turns out that the young dragon that had taken up residence had actually spotted them. A fight began. Now, I don't remember too much about the fight. It was a long time ago, after all. Except that this group of players worked like a well-oiled machine, with the party wizard smartly casting buffs on the fighter, and the fighter using the optimal degree of power attack to make sure his two-handed sword had the most damage output possible. If I'm not mistaken, the dragon, which I had mentioned was medium-sized, was killed in a single hit in the first or second round of combat, because the fighter got a lucky critical. Now I say lucky, but his elven thin blade was specifically chosen because it was a two-handable weapon that had an unusually large critical threat range. And it did over 50 points of damage in one hit, thanks to the fighter's race and feat makeup. He was sure to remind me, by the way, that as it was medium-sized, it was susceptible to the death from massive damage rule. So one failed save later and the dragon went splat. I was kind of dumbfounded. The session only started like 10 minutes earlier, and they'd already rushed their way to the dungeon and killed what was supposed to be a mini-boss, and even my friend Jay, who had been known to power game a bit back in our home game, sat with his mouth agape at how singularly focused this group seemed to be on combat. But hey, again, nothing inherently wrong, right? I just had prepared for a very different session than the players were expecting. So, they explored the moat house. To my recollection, there wasn't really much to find there, at least not yet. So, they went back to town. Finally! I'd been reading up on all of these characters' backstories for the past few days. I was ready to plant some seeds of intrigue and really get...
I attacked the guy at the bar!
I don't remember what prompted it or even which of the players started it, but barely a minute into their visit to the tavern, one of the PCs had already drawn weapons and were attacking commoners. Jay tried standing in the way, but they just turned and attacked someone else. When the guards showed up, they attacked them too. A couple rounds in, I was considering having the two mayors, retired adventurers who founded the town, and could easily handle a group of low-level PCs, but there should, normally have been no reason for them to do so, enter the fray. But instead, I stopped the game. I asked the players why they had attacked the townsfolk, and just asked them what sort of session they had been expecting. They all looked at each other, shrugged, and said something along the lines of,
I don't know, this is how we usually play.
So I sort of rebooted the game back to before they started the fight. They'd just returned from the moat house after splatting a dragon. Let's try this over again. I encouraged them to talk to some of the NPCs to learn where to go and what to do, and within a few minutes, a fight had broken out again. Around this time, we decided to take a break and order some pizza. Yes! While everyone was figuring out what they wanted, I pulled Jay over and asked him if he had any clue as to what was going on. He told me this was nothing like what he expected, and frankly, he didn't like it at all. We both kind of glanced left, glanced right, then started packing our things up. We said that we just realized we had some reason we had to leave, something early next morning, whatever. The guys didn't seem bothered anyway. They said it was nice getting to play, and they were eagerly awaiting the next session that I, deep down, knew was never going to happen. Oh, and I just remembered one more detail, by the way. After the first bar fight, after killing a couple commoners that were just hanging out at the tavern, when I rewound the game, one of the players pointed at the map of the tavern and then asked me,
How much experience did we get for this? Wasn't it enough to level up?
Needless to say, I made an excuse to not ever schedule another game, and I didn't talk to any of those guys much afterward. Some days I honestly sit and wonder what it was they wanted to happen during that session. Whatever it was, I wasn't the right DM to give it to them. The fact that they asked for roleplay and said,
Yeah, we love role-playing,
and then just kind of went off on a murder hobo adventure, I have no idea. It boggles my mind too. Hey everybody, Brian Von VA checking in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, ring that bell, and let us know in the comments below. What was your shortest D&D campaign and why did it end? And of course, if you want to join our membership, it is a huge help to us. You don't have to, but we would be much appreciated as you get early access to videos and it helps us keep the lights on too. We love you all. Toodaloo for now.